It's that little gay talk show. Houston's hot mess of a podcast. A funny but thoughtful look at the LGBTQIA plus community.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hey.
It's another episode of That Little Gay Talk Show. I am one of your hosts, Joel Tatum.
I am the Wendy Taylor.
Nah, you're just Wendy.
Oh, yes, she did. Yes, she did.
Just Wendy Taylor.
Mm-hmm. And welcome to our episode of Generations, where we're going to be talking to different generations. We're going to have 4 episodes where we're talking to different generations of people. So we're starting with our boomers.
Yes, we are starting with our boomers, which is actually one of my favorite generations. It's unfortunately one of the least popular generations that exists because what were y'all doing? But we...
Booming. They were booming, honey.
But I do love, I do tend to have quite a few friends who are boomers. I find that I gravitate towards them. I like them. And I think that's funny. That's probably because I'm Gen X. And what would actually be considered a Xennial, because I was like the tail end of the Gen Xers and the beginning of the millennials. So I grew up both with and without technology, the internet, computers in the home, all that stuff. And I was a latchkey kid. Like I disappeared, and when the street lights came on, you came back home unless you were playing flashlight tag.
Ooh, that was a fun game.
That we did a lot. But we were still on the street, and our parents had to be able to hear them yell. That's how close we had to be. So I just, because my parents are boomers, I understand that gap. And I tend to have a lot of boomer friends, but they're all queer.
Yeah.
Thank God.
They're all queer.
I don't think I could
So they have
do
that.
an episode with straight boomers because I think I would just reach across and kill people.
Okay, like the more and more I step into, because I'm in a heteronormative relationship right now, which is weird for me. Okay, so like I walk around and I'm just like gay with my boyfriend on my arm everywhere I go, and he's so all about it. Like he's just like, yeah, she's part of the community, and it's great. He's the first person to say that the queer community has been more welcoming, warm, and accepting of him than anyone in the straight community has ever been. And I'm like, that's because we're a community.
Well, and I think it's more, yeah. The gay community is more accepting.
Yes.
You know, because they've accepted each other for different kinks, fetishes, diversity, and everything. So we're more accepting.
We should be more accepting. There are times when we are not.
Absolutely.
And that's on us.
And your generation got us here.
Yeah.
Your generation fought in the streets. Your generation.
We're standing on your shoulders today.
Oh, that's why they hurt.
Wendy, where's the intro?
We still haven't even introduced
Oh my God.
We just started the
Started yet.
Too much fun already.
We just jumped right into it. We got excited, you guys. We got excited. Okay, our guests today are 2 very dear friends of mine. We have Deborah Bell, who is a producer and a co-host on Queer Voices, as well as an activist in our community. She does work with the Mental Health Walk, right?
The Houston Walk for Mental Health.
Houston Walk.
And then I've been a part of many other organizations through the years, but I am retired for the most part, and so I limit my activities, mainly doing radio.
Right. And we also have my new friend, James Martinez, who is Mr. Prime Choice 2023. He's also the founder of Positive Force, which is a really wonderful nonprofit that helps with destigmatization for HIV/AIDS, as well as encouraging social outings and things like that in the community for HIV/AIDS, as well as leather. You are Mr. Leather out there, like doing all the things.
Well, thank you, Wendy. You know, I started off as pork chop, now more prime choice, you know. As I get older, I'll be tenderloin.
All I gotta say is that the beef has aged very well. There's something tender about what's going on across the table right there. I'm hitting on a boomer. I am hitting on a boomer.
If y'all don't know,
Hey, boomers know it better.
Vegetarian, so I can't quite make this analogy, but
Deb, you're beautiful. But speaking of the leather community and new friends, James and I are working on a calendar together that I have been lucky enough to photograph this man twice now.
It has been.
And yes, and twice now. And when I tell you how proud I am of those photos and how easy of a subject he is to work with, like, goodness gracious, just a joy every time he walks in the room. And he's also really pretty.
Yes, he is.
He's really
and he's obviously done work, whereas
yeah, he's in the gym every day.
Yeah, I'm not.
No, I like Shipley's.
Well, see, I'm in the gym because I love to eat. Oh, my God. So, macaroni and cheese. I'm looking at your potato chips right now. I love to eat, and that's why I work out, because if I don't, ooh.
That's so funny. So we wanted to do this series on the show about the different generations that are really active in our community as adults. We're not bringing in anything under Gen Z at this point. But I was really excited to have you both on because I love y'all come from very different backgrounds. Mm-hmm. You have very different lives leading up to this point and very different personalities. And I cannot wait to get into, like, what kind of phone did you have growing up?
Oh. Do you remember back in the day we had to push the button?
Oh, you push buttons.
Hey, I remember the ones
The
you
rotor.
had.
Oh, the rotor.
And sometimes I have dreams and I'm having to use a phone and it's a rotary phone and it's like, oh my, this is so... But yeah, we had one phone, or sometimes two, but usually one phone that was on the a little niche in the wall in the hallway,
Yes. Right.
or a wall phone in the kitchen.
Yep.
And that was pretty much it. This idea of always having a phone, not only always having a phone, but a little computer with you at all times is just
Exactly.
boom,
The
mind
funny thing,
blown.
The funny thing about the phone conversation, because Deborah's been on our show before, so if you want more details about Deborah, just listen to our past episode. I'll bring up the episode later. But Deborah has two kids, so having a one phone in the house with kids, teenagers. Let's talk teenagers back in the day. Why don't you tell us funny stories about that? Because that's got to be.
God.
Be pretty interesting. We're literally talking
Can
about
I use
the
the
fact
phone?
I can't really remember any phone issues with my kids. I do remember as a teenager living in a mobile home and having I think there must have been a phone no, there wasn't a phone in the kitchen. There was one phone. It was in a desk in a little hallway, and it was very near my parents' bedroom. And
So they could hear everything.
late at night, I'd be stretching that phone as far as
What about the long cord?
Yeah,
The long
yeah.
cord.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And, but
'cause-
the advantage is you never lost your phone.
Oh no,
No,
you knew where
no.
it was at all times because it was a brick attached to your house with a line.
Yes.
Like you had to plug it in for it to work. I remember when we got a cordless phone
Ooh.
for the house, and I was like, I thought we were the hottest shit on the block. Okay, because we got a cordless phone. We still didn't even have cable because it didn't even run out there.
You had the antenna, right? Yeah, the antenna.
We had antennas. And when we got that, I thought that was so great. And then as I became a teenager, my parents allowed me to get a phone in my room. Oh my gosh.
Ooh.
Oh my gosh.
A princess phone. I had a
Ooh.
princess.
Weren't you just
Oh my
spoiled?
God, you were only cool if you got the clear see-through one that you could see all of the stuff inside.
Yeah.
Those are
Yeah.
cool.
They are cool.
Oh my God.
I still kind of want one, except, I don't have a landline. So
Oh my God.
technology has advanced a lot.
You try living in a house with 8 people trying to share 2 phones in the house.
No.
Oh wow.
And most of us are teenagers by that point. So,
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
So was there a time limit? Okay, you could. And was there a pecking order? Who got
There
to use
was
it
no
first?
such thing as a time limit in my house. It was a simple, get your ass off the phone right now.
Right.
I don't care who you're talking to. Who is this?
What is it?
Don't call here after 9 o'clock.
Exactly.
And that's the way it went. I mean, time limit. That was when my stepmother would pick up the phone and go, it's okay, it's time to go. It's time to go.
Time
Oh my God.
Exactly. So there was no such thing.
I've been through a challenge.
I'm an ethnic person. There was no such thing as a time limit. You white people and your privileges.
Oh my God. You remember the party line?
Oh yes, my grandparents
Now, I
had
was-
one of those.
Really?
Yes, my grandmother had one.
I'm not sure how it worked. I think there were 3 different people,
You had to
different
click,
households,
yeah.
and someone could come on the line while you were talking to someone, and you had to either hang up or you had to deal with it in whatever way.
My
Yeah.
grandmother would listen.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
She would listen.
There were those.
She wouldn't say
The
anything.
only thing I know about party lines, honestly, is from watching Doris Day movies. There was one
I
Doris
see.
Day movie where I think it was Doris Day and Rock Hudson sharing a party line in some kind of bachelorette thing. And I'm like, that's fast. And I was a little kid.
Some
Right. I
of
was a
those
little kid.
movies, if you watch them now, you do it with a woke eye.
Yes.
And you're like, oh my God,
Oh,
I
God,
can't
shows from
believe
the 90s are already canceled. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
I can't go back. I honestly can't go back and watch anything from like 20, 30 years ago without being hypercritical about it.
Exactly.
I
It was so problematic.
I can't, except for the Golden Girls. I don't know what it is about the
You
Golden
and
Girls.
the Golden Girls.
How are they always on the right side of
Exactly.
history? Like always.
Well, Norman Lear, thank you.
Oh,
Hey, did y'all watch the Emmys? Any of y'all?
I did not.
I watched it after it was on. I watched it on Hulu, and it was a really good broadcast. And
Was it?
they were celebrating 75 years of Emmys, and they were doing like reunions of different cast, some very well known and popular shows, but somehow none of them got Emmys.
Right.
But also the I'm going to say it wrong. In memoriam,
Oh, yes.
I bawled my friggin' eyes out. It were so many people that had shaped my life to some degree, or that, these shows, the people that you know, that you recognize. And then the music they did with it was really amazing.
Perfect.
And the way they blended it. And at the end, what do? They're playing the friggin' Friends theme song.
No.
And end with Matthew Perry.
Poor Matthew.
I
that
know.
was
I mean,
Another
it was-
loss.
Yeah, I mean, I do. If you have Hulu, I recommend watching
I will
it.
have to watch it.
was-
I just
and
stopped
they-
watching award shows because they all got kind of icky.
Yeah, and then the president of the organization GLAAD, Gay and Lesbians Alliance Against
something.
Defamation, I think is the right, because they never said.
Right.
She made a really incredible speech. RuPaul Drag Race won Best Reality, the speech he made.
Awesome.
I mean, I have to say it. It was probably one of the best award shows I've ever seen.
Oh, now I have to watch it.
And I didn't necessarily
I got
see
Hulu.
all the shows.
I got Hulu.
But, I think I in the television came, because I'm 74.
Right.
The Emmys was the 75 years of Emmys. I used to say the television, I came into the household pretty much at the same time. And so that did have a big influence on my life and, all the shows that I've seen over the years. But the devices, I mean, if we want to, we can watch TV right now on our phones.
Yeah. So
I'm a little concerned about the use of devices for every damn thing. And
it's just a new tool.
well, it can be a tool, but it also gets to be a kind of pressuring. Like, you have to have this in order to conduct business. You have to download an app.
Right.
And then so many people seem to be so into their devices, they're not
Living.
living.
We're in an age of extreme FOMO.
Yes.
Fear of missing out.
Yes.
True.
I mean, here I am. I'm Gen X. And I've always been a lover of technology, simply because my father was terrible with.
Oh, he was a Luddite.
He was terrible at technology. He always thought he was a hip. This was a man. This was okay. So we got our first. We were the first household with a cell phone, and when I mean a cell phone, it was
the box. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
With the phone, with the little portable phone, with the antenna, and it cost $35 a minute to use.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes.
To which,
Yep.
To which he said, "You are not even to call 911 on this phone. It's going to cost $35 a minute."
Nope. My parents got me a beeper first. I had a beeper
With the
because I was
beeper.
super cool, and it was yellow to match my car because I'm super stylish. But
She is.
Then I got,
She's very stylish.
The very stylish
my
Wendy
cell phone.
Taylor.
It's just Wendy Taylor. But I got a cell phone, and it was so expensive that my mom was like, "You only use this. You keep it in the glove box, and you only use this for emergencies, or like if you're going to get stuck after school and I need to know where you are. But even then, go to the office and use that phone." Yeah, it was so expensive to have a cell phone.
Yeah, you were saying technology and everything, and I like what you were saying about the television shows, how they influenced and everything. I grew up in the good old Leave It to Beaver, Bewitched, Gunsmoke.
Yeah, I love Bewitched.
Wholesome, but also Star Trek.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I'm a huge Star Trek fan. There was a show how Star Trek shaped technology.
Yes.
For instance, the communicator that we have now is now our flip phone.
A lot of our current technology came from nonfiction.
I am looking forward to the
fiction.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
it manifested
Yeah.
itself.
Yep.
So I'm looking forward to the Beam Me Up.
Yeah.
So we don't have to get on a plane
I
anymore.
was trying to figure out if because I had this in a dream where you could use a fax machine and fax.
Fax yourself. Oh God, but that would just be a copy.
Yeah, oh.
Then you'd be cloning yourself.
Oh.
Yeah, because
we
the
could
fax just stays in the fax.
Yeah, somebody
right? You
get
keep
on
it,
that story.
you could get- that would be a fun movie.
You were talking about growing up with and without technology. Well, I certainly also grew up
Oh yes.
without technology and learning it mainly on the job.
Right.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people, they're in kindergarten, they're using pads, and I mean, my 12-year-old grandson, doing all the stuff, but. I had to learn. I had to figure out, a few years ago with the COVID and everything.
Oh, man, yeah.
Using Zoom.
Yes.
And
I'm still learning.
We actually record queer voices via
With
Zoom.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so it's, this is something I love about humanity is the way we can adapt.
Yes.
True.
And stay connected.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Would you say your leap into technology, were you forced into it, or was it a natural curiosity?
It was, I was forced into it in the degree of I wanted to work and I had to be able to do certain things. And it was actually at the University of Houston, I had a boss who taught a class at Digital Equipment Corporation and got this machine. And if you saw it now, you would really think it was a dinosaur. But it did pretty much what the Mac did.
Right.
But it was like, it had 4 disk drives and, floppy disk and all this. And I had to use it to process manuscripts that were submitted.
Interesting.
And
Phoenix is sitting here going, "What's a floppy disk?"
and
What's a
I'm kidding.
It sounds like a bad porn. Floppy disk.
With the big floppy disk.
I had a day and a half of class. A day
Because I
and a
keep
half.
thinking of Phoenix.
Remember
I
that?
keep thinking of Phoenix as what are you? Jen?
I'm 40.
Oh,
Okay.
I thought you
You could
were a lot
have told me
younger.
20 and I would have
Phoenix is my age.
I'm like, I thought they were in their 30s.
No, Phoenix.
I'm like, the child at the table.
No, well, I mean,
I
they
started
are.
to make Gen Z jokes.
Oh, wow. See, you know what's really funny about that is we're going to get into that too, because Gen Z and boomers no get along. Gen Z and millennials
You know what?
no get
No,
along.
the millennials.
Here's something that I think I'm going to differentiate because of the fact that we are an LGBTQ podcast.
Yeah.
Is the fact that we are Gen Z is trying to celebrate boomers in the gay community. Boomers in the heterosexual community, that's that's a complicated issue.
That's a whole other show.
That's a whole other show.
Yeah.
But I think that there is a level of I think that millennials and Gen Z do want to learn a little bit more of history simply because we're watching some disturbing things happening right now.
Yes, and
When
the
it comes-
boomers that survived the HIV/AIDS endemic, like the elders that we do have in our community are so precious
Yes.
to us. They're so precious.
Yeah, you made me, you made the wheels start turning in my brain, talking about viewing my life through many decades now. And I was a hippie chick. Okay, in the 60s. And I think you said something about boomers. What were you thinking? And sometimes I think that, but we come from a generation that was recovering from the Second World War.
Right.
And then we had the liberation of the 60s and civil rights movement and queer rights.
Yes.
It's like there was all this stuff taking place. And we were living the history,
Right.
and many of us were learning. I came out as an older person, so that's a little bit of a different experience than like when I talk to people that are in their 20s or 30s now. It's like, oh yeah,
I've been out since I was 12.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
But it's and I do know. And this may be because they are people who identify as feminist, but straight people who are fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like they don't care. You do you, I do me. We're fine.
That's how my parents are.
And so I don't like to use broad strokes for any group. And
That's fair.
but I do when people say, "Oh, these young people, they're blah blah blah." I go, "No, these young people rock. They are amazing."
Yep.
Right.
And that's who I celebrate.
Right.
Because they realize that we messed it up. And if they're going to survive, not just thrive, which is what we want, but it's up to them.
Yes.
But hopefully through all these years that they too learned and adapted and will be able to do the thing.
Oh, yes.
And
Oh, yes.
A lot of people don't realize that the 50s and 60s was a very tumultuous time.
Extremely
So much
politically.
stuff.
Yeah.
Social unrest
so
and
much
everything.
social unrest was going on at that time. When I look at the 50s and 60s through documentaries, that kind of stuff, I think about what we're going through right now, and I'm like,
It's a revolution.
The change in America is very violent.
Yes.
Yes.
Whether we like it or not,
Yep.
it's part of our history.
Yep.
It is very violent. So to see us going, and I'm like Deborah. The young people are killing it, as far as I'm concerned.
I think so too. They're with it. They're self-aware.
I don't like the words like kill.
They
Strike that for the record.
are kicking butt.
They're kicking-
taking names.
Yeah.
They're kicking ass.
Well,
yeah.
it's still very violent.
Yeah.
Very violent language.
They're rocking out.
Yeah, they're also doing that, but
Rock
also,
on.
especially in the as a Leatherman and working with the Positive Force and everything. You know, I celebrate the younger generation. I love their tenacity. I love their eagerness. My God, they force me to grow every day.
Yeah.
But at the same time, my gift back to them is know your history.
Yeah.
Yes.
You, for instance, we live in a time right now, we have more technology than we've ever had. It's all at our fingertips. So there's no excuse for not knowing. Educate yourself via on your phone.
Yeah.
But also, there's also self-accountability.
Yes.
I'm just going to speak on this for a minute. The HIV crisis. Okay. The younger want to say, it's not as bad because I can just take a pill. No, wrong answer. Being on PrEP is not really the answer to it. The answer to it is self-responsibility. And so all those people who paid the price for you through the medication basically killed them to be where we're at today.
Yeah.
You know, I make sure that people are aware of how far you've come and don't take this for granted.
Yeah.
The 35th Walk to End HIV will be this year, I think March. And the Allies in Hope are the sponsors of that. Having the leather community come out and be part of that would be
that'd be
tremendous.
amazing.
I'd love to.
I'd come photograph that.
Yeah. You know,
I see a photo shoot coming on.
and having worked with an AIDS support group back in the 80s, and seeing people come in who maybe were 30 years old and had just been diagnosed, and within 6 months they were gone. And to watch them literally age over the course of 6 months and die. I mean, sometimes I think the most we had in 1 week was 4, but death, you know, was just our constant companion, and it sucked. It was horrible. Loving people, caring about them, knowing how wonderful they were. I mean, and grant you, there were some people that weren't so nice.
Oh, yeah.
But you still had to love them through that.
Yeah.
They're still human beings.
Because we were trying to figure out. We were trying to figure it all out. We've made tremendous strides. It's so wonderful. When I used to, one of my friends, I got tested. Yeah. And waiting for that shoe to drop. And one day it did. But by the time it did, there was more things in place. And so he's still living with HIV.
Nice.
But so many of the people that I know are living with HIV. Yeah. And certainly within that community, there's
20 years.
Yeah. It's like, well, you know, I had a date and we blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no. They're infected too. I'm like, no, you still have to take precautions. There's still, you know, you constantly have to educate you. It's the same thing if you had diabetes. You have to know how to take care of yourself.
It's all about, you were talking about self-accountability. And I feel like that's something that everybody is lacking nowadays.
Yes.
Absolutely everybody will get away with absolutely anything they can under any circumstances without any regard to anybody in their circle or circumstances.
I feel like we live in an era where everybody's celebrating the villain.
That's an interesting. Well, I think
that's
that a lot of that's because...
And I think because we have a lack of self-accountability.
No, I don't think that's why that is. This is my opinion on that, is because we have villainized entire communities through media and whatnot, and now we're changing their stories. We're correcting their stories.
Yeah, and
that's
James,
a very
you
good
said
analogy.
that thing about know your history,
Yeah.
and that can be a tricky thing because it depends on where you heard your history from to begin with.
Correct.
Such as, I love to give this an example, a lot of stories about what happened at Stonewall. When you find out what really happened at Stonewall, what happened and didn't happen, there's a book. And it's by a writer named Eric Carter, who was actually working for the Village Voice at the time and was on the scene. But it was many years later before he wrote the book about it. But he corrects some of the myths. And I won't say who, but there was a member of our community that was on a television program. And he was saying some things about something. And I'm like, that's not true. That isn't the way that happened. I was just like, it was scary because this was someone who is with an organization and was representing our community, and yet here they're going on television, mainstream television, Channel 2, and saying blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no.
Yep.
And once that genie gets out of the bottle, sometimes it's very, very hard to...
Yes, it is.
Right.
Misinformation is...
Yes.
Well, and that's what everybody, remember, used to call this the age of information.
Yes.
It's very quickly become the age of misinformation.
Yeah, or disinformation.
Yes, disinformation.
Yes,
and
definitely.
it's so important. And they teach this in every class that I've been to in college. You have to go through a certain period of time where they tell you how to vet the information that you're getting.
Right.
What is acceptable in a paper that you're going to turn in for scholarly wants and needs. So they do that. They started doing that when I was in elementary school. Because the internet came out, right?
Yes.
The internet happened, and I got a little Apple IIgs, and I was super happy about it. I played Matterhorn and what was the Oregon Trail? Oh my God! Anyway, but like it was still all in like C++, right? We were still in the C++ age. By the time I got into high school, I was getting a license for Microsoft for Visual Basic, right? Which was crazy because they're now teaching this to people in high school. Mm-hmm. Right. This is something that people had high-paying jobs to do, and now we're teaching it to everybody. And then came MySpace, and you had to learn how to code.
MySpace, yes.
You had to code to do MySpace. We didn't even know we were learning to code, but we wanted a cool song played in the background, and we wanted this glitter in the back, or whatever. We wanted all our pictures. We had to learn how to code, and it's just wild to me watching. Like I watched a documentary about some of the people who created computers. And even they knew that it would permeate through society, but they had no idea they would be in our doorknobs.
Right.
Like in our pockets. We carry computers around with us in our pockets. My phone
in
has
our refrigerator.
My phone has more memory than my first computer ever wished it could.
Exactly. And can do so much more.
Our television, which they know what you're watching, and they tailor ads. It's wild.
Well, it's the algorithms that,
Algorithms are crazy, and everybody's
for
like...
For the longest time on Facebook, they seemed to think that I was a black woman.
Oh,
really?
Yeah, I would get so many things, and I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. But I just thought it was very interesting.
That's funny.
That's what came, what the algorithm had developed.
Yeah.
So when you
kind of have those, you kind of have the sensibilities of a black woman.
You kind of do a little.
Let's see.
When you kind of do, black people. Well, there will be that certain white person that just has certain sensibilities that black people are like, you know what? You all right.
What was that called? Enveloping culture.
See?
It's enveloping culture where they're like, we'll take them, y'all can have these guys. My favorite one on TikTok is the teacher who's got a student who is step black.
Step black?
Oh, no.
He's step black.
Oh, my God.
He says things because what happens is his mother's white, his stepfather is black, and he's learning about the black community through his stepfather. And he comes in, and his teacher is black, and starts saying things, and the teacher's like, he just say step black? And he's like looking, right? He's like,
is that a word?
And then the more this kid is talking, he's like, oh no, he's one of us. What flavor Kool-Aid do you like? Red? No, it's like fruit punch or what? No. That used to be it when I was white, but now I'm step black, and the correct answer is red.
I was going to say grape.
Oh my gosh.
So funny. But okay, so I'm glad you brought up the Emmys earlier, Deb, because I wanted to talk about who were some of your celebrity crushes when y'all were growing up?
Oh gosh. It's been a long time ago, Wendy.
I know.
Well, of course, for me, it was the Beatles, okay?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why I never became Mrs. Paul McCartney. I just don't. Although I now kind of don't like him. I mean, I love the music, but yeah, But when I was 14 years old, and at the time we were living in Bryan College Station, I felt like they saved my life or my sanity because it was so different than anything I had ever known before. Thank goodness we weren't there for all that long. We ended up going to Austin, which was really cool in the 60s. And then because the Astrodome got built and my dad helped build it, we came to Houston.
Your dad helped build the Astrodome?
Yes.
That's cool.
Wow.
Yes. Because people will say, "Oh, you from here?" Lyft drivers always say, "Are you from here?" I said, "Well, I came here when I was, in the 60s because my dad helped build the Astrodome."
That's amazing.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's historical right there.
I wish they would save it.
I know.
I saw it the other day, and it's sitting there next to Energy, and I'm like, it was the eighth wonder of the world.
It was the eighth wonder of the world,
and now it's just a little tiny thing.
It is. It's been dwarfed by the new stadium and the arena. It's incredible.
But now it's just wonder. What are we going to do?
They can't figure it out.
They don't know.
No, it's a shame. There's got to be something.
There is something. It's just they can't decide.
Yeah.
They can't. Everybody has an idea. Nobody can decide which way to go. So it just sits and rots instead of anything getting done. Just pick a lane and go for it.
Much like us. No. This is one of the things, and it's a very exciting time to still be alive because I've seen so much for during this time. And celebrity crushes is a funny thing because there's people now that I may be attracted to for different reasons than what most people.
Of course.
And
when you're young,
since
it's all
I'm
very
bi and I
superficial.
like both men and women, I can be attracted. I should have realized this when I was a kid and they had the play of Peter Pan on television. Ooh. And I liked both Wendy and Peter Pan.
It's like, I'll take one of each.
Yeah.
Today I'm feeling this.
Both at the same time. Fuck it.
Yeah.
What about you, James? Who are your celebrity crushes?
Celebrity crushes. Oh God, there's. I grew up on John Wayne.
Ooh.
That was the man.
The man.
The man. You wanted to walk like John Wayne. That was my dad's. My dad was a cowboy, so we grew up watching John Wayne and Gunsmoke. Remember Gunsmoke? Marshall Dillon.
I lived in a house for a while with an older woman who watched old westerns all day long. And it was funny because I'd see something and I'd go, oh, yeah, he used to be on such and such. Or, it was really an interesting thing. Do any of y'all remember Cheyenne?
Yes.
Oh, now there was a man. Mm-hmm. That was a man. That was a gorgeous, gorgeous man.
I was wondering if somebody was going to say like Charlton Heston or
those old right-wing farts.
I liked him. The interesting thing
Elvis, come on.
Elvis.
Oh, Elvis. I watched the new movie. I absolutely loved it.
Did you like it?
Yeah. The guy did a great job of playing
I
Elvis.
didn't know until recently that he was extremely racist against Hispanic people.
He was?
Elvis Presley?
Yes.
I never heard
there
that.
was a time that he was like, I won't play for those
Oh, wow.
Oh, no.
One of my girlfriends, she's Hispanic, and she was telling me about it. She can never support him because of what he said about people. And I was like, I didn't know. Oh, I hate hearing things like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn it.
It's hard to find out that if there's someone that you've admired or liked. And
it was horrible.
I can't stand Susan Sarandon anymore. I used to be a fan.
What did she do now?
Because she became such a Bernie bro that she was unreasonable.
Oh.
And it was like Bernie was not the answer. I don't care what any of y'all think. Bernie was never the answer. And who doesn't want free kittens and free school and free this and free that? What they should say is taxpayer funded.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what is appropriate. But that's something that can kind of knock the wind out of yourselves. Disappointment, like they say, never meet your heroes.
Never meet.
I agree with that. And I can say this. From watching, let's say, Madonna. Mm-hmm. Watching her come through career and everything, and I'm probably going to get blasted for this, but would I go to see her concert now? No.
But
it is. You had a great time.
People.
You had your time. Yeah. It's great. Sit back and enjoy it. Stop trying.
But when I see people bless her because of how she looks now, or it's like, yes, she changed, she grew, she evolved.
I say good for her.
I love Lucille Ball. Yeah.
You're still rocking. You go, chick.
I say that, and I've never bought a single album of hers. I don't have any of her songs on my playlist, but I do have incredible respect for how she revolutionized the music industry, especially as a woman and for women.
A go-getter? Yes.
Like,
I was I was a Madonna fan.
Right. See?
But you know what? The 80s and 90s, greatest music ever.
Yes.
Greatest music ever. You had the British Invasion. You had Androgyny.
The 60s, the 60s, 70s,
Yeah.
80s.
Funk, new disco,
Rock and
new
roll.
wave, new wave.
Rock and roll
All
forever.
kinds of stuff was happening in the 80s and 90s, and unfortunately AIDS ruined a lot of that. But
we missed out on a whole generation of progress. Because of the AIDS epidemic. Like, y'all had already started on all of the liberation, equal rights, all of that kind of stuff, and then got wiped out, like, in a matter of a couple of years.
It didn't.
Freddie
It didn't
Mercury.
wipe us out for some. It's one of those things. You know, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. And it's like, I don't know about
That's not
that.
always true.
But I do know that. Again, that adaptability of rising to the occasion, forming care teams and being there for people, starting hospices, starting organizations that are still. We start a bunch of organizations that we would like to see put out of business.
Right.
But we address the problems that exist, and we try to be there for people. James, I understand you've got involved with the group Food Not Bombs.
Yes.
And can you say a little bit about what that's about?
oh, by the way, I just want to throw this out here. We actually have a terrorist on the. Did you know that Food for Bombs was considered a terrorist organization in the 1980s?
Are you serious?
That article that you brought up earlier, there was actually a point in the article where it said Food for Bombs was on a terror watch list.
Oh,
since
Food
the
for
It's Food Not
Bombs.
Bombs.
Food not. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Food Not Bombs.
Ooh, thank you, Wendy.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you. Food Not Bombs has been on a terror watch list since the 80s.
They do that to civil rights groups all the time.
So what is so terroristic about
And the
it?
funny thing in the article, it said, "Hey, yeah, we're on a terrorist list for caring about people. That's
Yeah.
what we're on a
Yep.
terrorist
Yeah.
list for, because we didn't support the war in Iraq."
Yeah.
Food Not Bombs.
There was an
is
organization
amazing-
called Daughters of Bilitis, which was one of the early lesbian organizations started by Del Martin and Phyllis Line. And Del saw the FBI file on them, and she said there were these pages of women seen entering a building. They seem to be drinking punch and eating cookies and talking. I mean, it was so nothing because it was
dangerous.
just women
Not
trying to
punching
find one
cookies.
another and
Maybe
get
that's
together.
food because it
And
has
I think
cookies.
I think it's
Because they have cookies.
Yeah, and I think
So
it's,
for everybody who doesn't know,
They-
the city of Houston has an ordinance that says that you are not allowed to, without specific licensing, feed more than 6 people at a time. You will be fined, and the fine is $2,000
Yes.
every time. Food Not Bombs feeds people every week, 2 or 3 times a week.
No, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday.
Oh, they're doing 4 times a week.
Yeah,
now.
at
That's
7:30, 55 McKinney Street.
Okay, so they're doing this there, and it's right on the steps of City Hall at the library.
Yeah.
And they ticket them every time. They've been ticketed over 80 times.
91 now.
91 times.
I just had a
now.
conversation with them this
Gosh
afternoon.
almighty. But what is so fantastic, they were hoping that the new mayor that was coming in would change the ordinance. But what is happening, since he has said that they will not be changing the ordinance, he did make a statement saying that will not change, which is unfortunate. What is happening instead is they're not being able to find jurors, so all of the tickets are being dismissed.
I mean who's going to stand up against that?
Right.
You know?
But the thing is, he doesn't necessarily get to decide that.
Right.
We have to be heard.
Yes.
Yes.
And we have to say, no, we think feeding people is a cool thing to do. People in need. We briefly talked before talking on the show about when we go to another country where there's been an earthquake or some horrible war or something, what do? We feed and shelter people.
Humanitarian aid
Yes,
first is the first line.
Yep.
And that's what it is.
And that's what we're
when
doing here.
dealing with the homelessness or unhoused
Right.
population in Houston.
Yes.
And other people who are food insecure, and the fact that we do not have truly affordable housing.
Yes.
I mean, it's like if you're not going to allow these people who volunteer and make this food and take it
Yes.
to feed people, do that, then come up with something that works.
Right. Because what you're doing isn't working.
Yes.
And
it's-
people are literally starving.
Exactly. And it's not just the unhoused population, it's people who are struggling.
Yeah.
For instance, I had a conversation with William this afternoon. He said they're not, anyone can come and get a meal who needs a meal.
Yep.
There's families that show up because it is a meal. And they're on a fixed income, whatever. There's families. Also, they clothe them.
Yes.
So
and toiletries.
and toiletries. So
Speaking of, if you
Yes.
would like to donate,
Yes.
where can they donate?
So, is it Kava Coffee?
Yes.
2617 Bissonnet. So go ahead and see William. He'll take care of you there. And anything you want to donate. So right now what they're in need of is personal toiletries, toothbrush, toothpaste, razors, toenail clippers, shampoos.
Natural hair care products.
Natural hair care
big thing.
products,
It's the natural hair care products because anybody can use them.
And also clothing, more so they're looking for men's clothing because they have a lot of female clothing, but more male clothing they're looking for also. So these are things we want to help them out and get them to them because, they're helping people get a meal and a warm jacket and just, humanitarian aid.
Yep.
And then the city, just... And also they could get... They can also, for putting up a tent, that's a separate fine.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh gosh.
How freaking ridiculous.
Yep.
I think this is something interesting too, is because even though we're queer and very
Let me throw this in here real quick. Folks, don't be afraid to donate cash.
Yes.
Because
Very good.
they can,
Yes.
Yes.
Because a lot of these organizations can simply just go out and buy the things that they need. Donate
Yes.
cash.
Yes.
Donate cash.
And that way they can get exactly what they need.
What they need.
Thank
Yes,
you.
indeed.
I think the Houston Food Bank says the same thing.
Yep.
Most organizations say bring cash.
Yeah, they can always use money.
Because they
Everything's
can buy
got
the things they
overhead.
need.
Exactly.
Everything's got overhead. And another thing that they do, like all of the meals are vegan because it's easier on their stomachs.
Exactly.
It's easier on anybody's stomach. So they have options for everybody no matter what their food allergens, all of that kind of stuff may be. They have healthy options there for you. So if you are hungry, please go see them. They will feed you. It will be healthy.
Yes.
And they are kind, so you will not be treated badly.
No, and don't, don't be ashamed. Just,
Yeah, there's no
just
shame.
go. You're among friends there. I'm new to helping out with this organization, but I'm really... It's a human organization. It is not a gay, straight. No. It is a people thing.
That's what I was
It is a people
saying.
thing.
Is that I'm involved with the Walk for Mental Health Awareness, and it's not. I mean, queers are involved, but that is not a queer organization per se, and neither is that. And so we as a community, I mean, we do show up for these various things. Another place that is helping people, Tony's Place and Montrose Grace Place.
Both
Yes.
amazing
Same thing.
organizations.
They're feeding
Yes.
and clothing.
Yes, our
Montrose
youth.
Center is trying to provide housing for young people in need. They build Law Harrington Senior Living.
Amazing.
Where I reside. Thank you very much, Montrose Center. So again, we're taking care of ourselves. The sister, I won't sing because that's Wendy.
I know where you're going.
That is
Sisters, I'm
Wendy's
doing it
job.
for
That
them.
is Wendy's job.
Right.
There is you become queer, or you identify as queer, you accept yourself as queer, and then you go get involved as an activist because it's not even a choice. If you're queer and you're not involved, then get off your duff and go get involved
Get in
in
it.
something.
Well, and
because
that's
there's
the thing right
places
now.
where you're needed.
Yes, you're
And
needed.
I agree 100%. Is you are needed, and we get comfortable with our climate control, our remote, 200 channels.
Power lift recliner.
You know, we get comfortable there, and we do. We get so comfortable there that we forget not all of us have as good as our fellow man.
Yeah.
So this is look out for your fellow man. And
Your fellow humans. Let's not be.
exactly. Well,
Yes,
thank you.
yes.
See, I'm going to learn so much from this one right here.
Deb will get you together in the kindest way, though. Like she says stuff, and you're just like, "Oh, thank you for correcting me."
See,
Supposed to be offended.
what would be great? Like she said it with a British accent.
If only. I watch so much British television. If I watch so much British television,
You're on
I've had BritBox and Acorn and
Acorn,
Australian television.
Gosh.
Give me some Anglophile.
Have you seen Keeping Up Appearances?
Oh, of course.
Highest bouquet.
Richard. I've had people tell me I looked like hot.
You could be. Say Richard.
Patricia Redledge. Yes. I haven't practiced saying a British accent in a
My
long
whole
time.
thing is absolutely fabulous. That's my.
Oh, God.
that's my
Oh,
jam.
yes.
I am obsessed with those two women.
So,
I don't know
which one
how
are you,
they're still
Wendy?
alive.
Which one are you? They're both fabulous.
I really don't know. They're so ridiculous.
I know.
Like, they're so absurd. Having conversations, spilling booze out of the bottle while they're talking and animating.
Blah, blah, blah. Slowly.
And there's a cigarette always somewhere. Like, there's always a cigarette somewhere. And, like, just ash it in the champagne glass.
And there's a fun thing that comes on. I see it on Facebook. It's Alan Cummings and Miriam Margolyes, and they're traveling together. They're doing this road trip and a
Shut
motor
the front
thing,
door.
and it is so funny.
Those are two of the funniest people on the planet.
yes.
Oh my God, I got to check that one out.
Yeah.
I am obsessed with the Graham Norton show.
Yes.
Yes.
We watch Graham Norton.
Graham Norton is
I'm
great,
obsessed with Graham Norton. Like,
and it's available on Acorn now.
yeah, I'm obsessed with them. I think that it is the funniest talk show I've ever seen in my life. And I'm like, why can't we have stuff like this here?
I think that it's become so politically, you can't say this, you can't say that. Taking the humor out of it now. What happened to good old
best
humor?
television news of the moment? John Stewart is returning.
He's returning. He's coming back once a week. Every Thursdays. I think it's Thursday. So he's back once a week, but he's back as a producer.
Yes.
So, but he's going to be on the show once a week, and I just about died when I read that yesterday. Oh my God!
Yeah. Because this is what I find attractive: intelligence.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So Stephen Colbert, Jon Stewart, the Rachel Maddow.
Talk nerdy to me.
Oh yes, talk nerdy to me any day.
Sexiest thing I ever saw in a man's house. I walked in and he had a physics book just casually. And I was just like, "You're getting it."
E equals MC square. Whatever that is.
I used to tell my younger son, "Don't be a smart ass," and he would turn and he would move his butt cheeks and say, "E equal MC squared."
Oh my God.
What's really great is my mom said something to my son today. He's 19. This is my middle child. And she said something. She was like, "Hey, did you happen to get this done?" And he goes, "Don't kill my motivation, Grandma."
Oh, don't kill my motivation.
And she thought that was the funniest thing she'd ever heard in her life.
We used to get the chore list on Sunday. Remember the list?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, now it's,
Yeah,
I guess they
didn't get a
text it to you
list.
now.
No. I didn't get a list.
You're sitting at the table and they
I did
will
not
text
get a
you.
list. I was expected to know what I was supposed to do.
We knew
My
that.
room should stay clean. I know the day I have to mow the lawn. I know the day that I have to do my laundry. No, you did not. No, you didn't.
And you didn't get paid for it.
No.
No, now they want to get paid for it.
I would if I did extra work.
Yeah.
I would get paid if I did extra work, and I did get paid to mow the lawn. I got $10.
My father.
Wow, you were raking it
I
in,
know.
Wendy.
My father owned a small furniture store, so he broke many child labor laws.
No, in fact, I remember.
Yeah.
Literally worked for free.
Yeah.
It's like,
See?
if you wanted to do anything, you wanted money to go do anything. Oh,
You better
Oh,
work.
I had
Oh,
a
you're
whole
one of the furniture-
presentation
Yeah.
for my parents
You're working at the furniture
because
store.
my classmates were getting allowances. So I put together a whole argument with stats to bring to my parents. Okay, these are my parents. My father was an engineer and my mother was a physical therapist, both educated. And we had a set of Funk and Wagnalls that if I had a question that
That's
they
an
couldn't answer,
encyclopedia, which is a form of
encyclopedia
book. It was
Yes.
what
They
we
taught me how
had
to go
before the internet.
we had
Yes.
to go look up the information.
Yes.
So I became an avid reader of encyclopedias because
were
I was never willing to
Fucking
accept.
Wagnalls. We were
I read-
all Britannica, baby.
You
Oh.
were,
We were
You had the full
Yeah.
collection. You had the whole collection.
World-
Yeah.
Full collection, baby.
With that gold writing on there.
So
Fucking
we've got,
Wagnalls.
that's what we've got.
low-class
We've got Britannica, Funk and Wagnalls, World Book.
Oh my God. I remember when it came in the mail. Ooh, the new encyclopedia is here.
Yeah.
And this tells you everything you need to know about this group of
Right. And nobody knew I was autistic until I was an adult. Wow. Why? How?
No one knew I had dyslexia until I was an adult. I was 30
That's
before I
so
figured out I had dyslexia because it was something that was never talked about.
Yeah,
we didn't know anything
autism
about it.
wasn't well known when I was a kid. I found out I was autistic after my son got diagnosed.
It's amazing that
Wow. You know,
Yeah.
they just didn't know the technology.
They didn't know.
The terms
They
then.
didn't have the
didn't
terms
know.
back then.
And also,
You know,
I was
this
always
ADD.
Really
Oh,
good
I meet
at
up with that,
masking.
honey.
I was always really good at masking.
My oldest son is dyslexic, and he's written books, but he was 12 before he learned to read.
Yeah.
And okay, he's an artist, an amazing artist, and has the verbal skills. But there was a center here in Houston, the Niehaus Center, and it taught teachers how to teach to children with dyslexia. And
Wow.
I took part in a program so that I understood what
Sure.
it was that he was dealing with. And because, this assumption is, well, they can't learn or they this.
Yes.
No, they just learn in a different way.
Yeah.
Oh, I almost jumped across the table one time at an ARD meeting. An ARD meeting is where when you get the educators surrounding your child's education for that year and the following year and discuss what kind of accommodations they might need, et cetera, for their disability.
Right.
And I was in there and my son has had incredible educators. His preschool and first grade teachers came to every ARD meeting up until high school. They stayed with him. He had amazing teachers, but there was one year the assistant principal decided to sit in, and this particular person had very little interaction with my son, did not know him very well, anything, and at one point stood up and said in the meeting, if it's just too hard for him to write, let's just not worry about it. And I said,
Wow.
you don't get to limit my son. You sit down and be
Yeah.
quiet. You're here as a courtesy.
Yeah.
And she did.
Well, my son had a slight speech impediment, as do I, and which is funny because I've done radio for 40-something years. But because of that, it got him connected to where they built a team, and that team worked with him for all the various things. His counselor, she actually helped start the Spark Parks they had, and she took him to some different things as an advisor about what kids would like and how they might. Because
Cool.
he was, artistic and imaginative and all like that. And so,
Yeah. Oh, my son's got
blessings to
literal
all the
universes in his
educators
head.
out there because, man, they're getting it, and especially from the a word I don't think I should say even in a podcast, but the people in Austin who want us to go to a voucher system,
Oh,
who
God.
do not give
Don't get me
our
started.
That's
kids
another story.
the
Yeah.
takeover of HISD
Yeah.
and what is happening, the travesty of taking libraries and changing them into detention centers. I mean,
Yes.
stop me now, hold me back.
No,
Yeah.
it's bad. It's really, really pushing the the school to prison pipeline thing.
Yes.
It's really pushing that.
And so wake up, everybody. Wake the fuck.
For instance, this is my idea or theory or whatever. Going to school, you got a new teacher every year. In some countries, the teacher follows you.
Oh, interesting. So
the
you
teacher
have a
follows you
relationship with them.
and so to me that is more of a, instead of going through, for instance, like your son, the teacher wasn't equipped to handle his special needs. Where had someone been with him 2 or 3 years, they may pick up on this sooner.
Well, he did though. He had aides that stayed with him. They do have aides that go across certain
disciplines.
So like he did switch aides when he went from elementary to middle school, and then from middle school to high school. But for the most part, all of those series of years, they were the same group of people, and he was with the same. Alternative education educators and that kind of stuff. So, and shout out to Mr. Moore. I know he will never listen to this, but he absolutely.
You never know. You never know, honey.
But he absolutely, he and Mrs. Lawley, oh my goodness, some of the best teachers in my children's school district, and just never gave up on him. And saw that he was intelligent, and saw that he was stubborn, and saw all of these things, and said, "No, we're going to get the best out of you." And they did. Yeah, they really did. And I'll never be able to thank his educators enough.
And back when I was coming up, it was like everybody the same. You know, we teach everybody the same, and you have these expectations, and
you
know,
were
never mind what might be going home in your home life, or you know, whatever.
Sink or
problems
swim.
you might have, but we made it, and blessings again to all the many teachers. I mean, I have some people that I can look back on and just wow, that teacher had a huge impact on me, influence on me.
Oh, our educators literally shape the future of our society.
Our educators aren't being allowed to do that.
No,
I mean, they're doing it on a shoestring budget.
Yes.
Most of them are quitting because they're dealing with so many issues from the districts, so many issues from parents.
Oh.
Okay, so let me tell y'all what, like, teaching has been the greatest joy of my life. Of all of the amazing, cool things that I've gotten to do in my career through music, art, entertainment, business, all of the things I've gotten to do. The most amazing moments for me have been watching students of all ages, because I have taught from 6 to 74 is the oldest I've taught so far, but I'm totally open to older. So, and every single one of them, the greatest joy I ever experienced was watching them reach a goal they didn't know they were capable of.
Wow.
And I'm just going to give her props. Wendy, that's her personality. She does that across the board, be it a photo shoot, be it a vocal lesson, be it a person. She's always going to get you to see something that you didn't see about yourself.
Yep.
Kudos to you, girl.
Oh, thank you. I just believe that people, most of the best people I know don't know that they're great. They don't know
that's a good statement.
They don't know they're great. And it just breaks my heart, because I'm like, you're what everyone needs to want to be, and you're sitting here beating yourself up because you're not good enough. I'm going to need you to just take a second, take a breath, and appreciate what you are and who you are and what you've done for a second.
Well, you know, let's think about this, because one of the biggest things that happen, the biggest mental illness that's out there is anxiety.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, it's the highest number of people have anxiety. I have anxiety.
Me too.
And it, you know, I've learned.
There's everybody at this table.
We all have different levels, but we all got it.
A bunch of youngsters at this conference table, you guys.
But
twitchy. I think
what happens is that negative self-talk.
Yes.
And you have to say, shut the fuck up and don't listen to you.
Yes.
Yes.
Those men, I mean, I don't know why. We'll do it over and over
I know
again.
why.
We'll come back
I
and
have a
we'll
theory
just say,
on why.
you know, this whole business about good. All of you are good enough.
That's my whole thing. Is like, you are good enough right now, today, in this moment in space time. The way you exist today is enough. It's enough.
And enough is fine. But you can be more.
But
it is where you're at
don't
now.
feel like-
Yes.
It's where you're at now.
But
My
don't
whole
feel
thing
like
is
you're
like,
bad because you're not
our
there yet.
brains,
Yeah.
our brains are trained to, like, you hear it all the time, like one bad deed undoes how many good deeds.
Yes.
Like, we always focus on the negative. And the reason we do that is because in our brains, we're still eating berries in a cave. Okay. And those kinds of decisions used to be life or death.
Yeah.
Literally, we would die. And now we're like sitting in our air conditioned rooms with our cars that park themselves and like the coffee that's timed by Alexa that is ready for us when we wake up in the morning. And we are still having those feelings, but they're based around societal expectations now, as opposed to, is this thing going to jump up and kill me? Now it's like, oh, I won't fit in. I'll be ridiculed if I do this. And that's social death, right?
Yeah. Well, that's again the whole thing with technology and the internet and things like Facebook. You know, when you see that movie of The Social Network, and you realize that the way Facebook got created was. It was guys at college rating women.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this idea that people bully or that they, think that they have to be something that we've all become, like with the podcast and with the being able to do videos and TikTok. We're all social media stars. We're all stars.
Right.
We're all in the biz
Look
now.
at me, look at me, look at me.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
You know, the funny thing is that
I'm like, leave me
Ironically-
alone.
ironically,
Don't look at
sitting
me
here
and-
doing a podcast is the fact that every time I go on TikTok and you see the podcast bros, and that's what they call them now.
Yeah.
These guys that go on podcasts and denigrate women.
Yeah.
Blah 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 blah.
Oh.
Which makes me feel ashamed to do a podcast. I'm like, wait a minute. So,
Like, we do a
because now,
podcast, but we're good. We're good.
exactly.
Okay.
We're the good people. We're the good people.
Because now doing a podcast seems like a negative thing, and I'm like, wait a minute, I don't want to get. Look, okay, when we have our producers episode, there's some things that I'm going to say on that episode. I'm not going to say right now. I'm gonna, because this episode is about it.
I'll buy a ticket to that show.
But I am going. I'm going to go back to what we were talking about earlier, and I'm going to have a slightly dark moment. So just bear with me. Now I've been doing the Shadow Work Journal for quite some time. If you don't know what that is, that's a journal where you have to. Where you journal your feelings. You talk about things that happened in the past. You write all this stuff down.
It's becoming okay with your trauma, basically.
It's learning to not only be okay with it, but to figure out where that trauma is coming from.
Yeah, the root of it.
And once I got to my root, which was the most horrific thing ever, it put me in a state of depression for a little bit. Now, I had just lost a friend over the holidays.
Yeah, everybody does.
And once I started to journal more and more and start to understand myself, once I got to the root, it broke me. Because for the first time, I realized where all my guilt came from. I realized why I self-sabotage. Because self-sabotaging is...
It's a real thing. Yeah, it's a thing.
It's been my thing for 50 something years. I'm now 56 years old, and I'm learning to. I think the greatest happiness and the biggest frustration is the fact that I am learning to live. I'm learning to figure out my emotions and not feel guilty about my emotions. When I'm mad at someone, when I'm hurt by someone, I internalize it and beat myself up. And I've done it through alcohol. I've done it through not drugs, really. I'm not really never been a drug person. Quick story. There was.
We're going off the grid.
1995. I'm sitting with my best friend David White at the time. And
oh, good. We're dropping government names. I love this story already.
I'm gonna bleep it out. I'm gonna bleep it out. Sorry, David. So here we are. We were sitting around. We're at a party. Now this was rollerblading was the thing.
Ooh,
yes.
rollerblading.
Oh my god.
Oh my God.
rollerblading, it was the short little kilts.
Yes.
The gays used to wear the kilts.
Yes.
Right.
That short little mini skirt kilts.
Yes.
And my friend used to 20-something years old, skinny, just the definition of a twink. He was the perfect
This was it.
white as white, doing his thing, skating through Montrose. He used to be a member of what was the group called?
The Urban Animals.
No, it was Q Patrol.
Oh,
Used to be a member of Q.
Q Patrol.
Yes, used to be a member of Q.
you know about the Q Patrol, Jay?
No, I'm
Okay,
look all this up.
we'll explain. You know the Guardian Angels? Okay, it's kind of like
like
that,
that.
but for the queer community.
This was
Around the
something that happened
bars.
after an incident in Montrose with Paul Broussard. That's
in the 90s,
that's
early 90s.
something we could talk about another time. But Paul Broussard was basically our Matthew Shepard of Houston.
Of Houston. Yeah. Mhm.
So I remember being at his house at a party. We had just come from, what was the name of the bar? What was it? Pacific Street.
Oh
We
my!
had just come from Pacific Street. Here I am.
Blast from the past.
He's gotten into a huge argument with one of his friends. They are on skates. It is hilarious. They are on skates. We are all on skates. I'm barely trying to figure out how to rollerblade. These fools are arguing back and forth with each other while rolling up and down.
Spinning
long,
around.
long drive.
No, you didn't.
In a mini kilt, which by the way was not wearing underwear.
Oh, regimental.
Was not wearing underwear.
Well, that's the proper way to wear a kilt.
Yes,
Get
it
to his
is.
house. They are arguing. Big pile of cocaine on the table.
Oh,
Wow!
They are arguing, doing
It was
lines
the
of
90s.
coke, doing lines of coke, and I'm sitting there going, "What is happening?
What is happening?
How did we go from being at Pacific Street to now being at his house while I'm listening to him argue with some dude over something that happened at Pacific Street for hours? They argued for hours, by the way.
Oh my
And I'm
gosh!
sitting there watching them do cocaine, and I'm like, I have so many allergies. I don't
Oh my god!
understand how they can put stuff
No,
in
not
my
this
nose
is
when
bad
I'm
for you,
trying
but
to
I have
get-
allergies.
When I'm trying to get stuff out of
My sinuses.
I don't want anything going.
is there an edible option for cocaine?
Joel, you brought us up a little bit after share that other thing, that very personal thing that you shared. But I want to say, good for you for sticking with that and
Yes.
getting to where you needed
Yes.
to get.
Yep.
To heal,
Yes.
because that's why a lot of people don't want to do therapy. That's why they don't want to do the work. It's painful. Nobody
Yes.
said it would be easy.
Oh, Deb, let me
What-
tell you something right now. After the now I'm not finished with the journal. There's
Well,
still-
no.
But the thing is that getting to that root made me go, you know what? I'm going to have to go to therapy because this is way more traumatic than I can handle. So we definitely have we are making an appointment as soon as we just got health insurance. We had to fight to get that.
Yeah.
But we finally, I'm like, yeah, we have to get into therapy because I'm going to have to deal with this.
Yeah.
But I have found that I am now spending more time. I'm proud of myself on certain levels.
Yes.
The way that I'm handling my emotions now. The other day, I stepped in a pile of dog shit. It's a long story. Whatever.
It's a long
Literally,
But it
I
was-
guess. I've taken it
But it was
literally.
at my,
Okay.
want you to
it was
write
at my
that
house.
story.
I've got to write
My
that down.
roommate has a dog. She's not supposed to have a dog.
Oh, that's a whole other story.
So I'm leaving for work. I step into the yard. I'm like, oh, I forgot my umbrella. Go back in, look down. I'm like, did I step in mud? Realize I didn't step in mud. I'm like, really? Outside the front fucking door? Really? Really? I'm so mad. But I found myself, when I'm mad, which doesn't happen that often, when I'm mad, I stay mad all day.
Oh, you live in it.
I
That's not healthy.
live in it. And the problem is that once I'm in it, I take it out on everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
And I work in customer service.
Yeah,
So you're that Veronica on
explain
TikTok.
A lot of people that I've dealt with in
In
customer
the
service.
past, I noticed that even though I was living in it, I noticed that there were a couple of incidents that happened in the restaurant that I was like, I could have easily just gone off. Could have just gone off, could have just let somebody have it. But I found myself being able to control how I was feeling in that moment. Because I'm like, wait a minute, Joel, we have a podcast. Do we have stuff to do? You got bills to pay. You can't be a fool.
You can't be showing out right now,
rational
honey.
part of my brain is now going, you know what, Joel? No, you can't do this.
It's like it's not that you control it so much as you make note of it, and you move on from it. You don't hold it. You don't keep holding
to make note of how I'm feeling.
That is one of the things, again, gets internalized and is so damaging.
Yeah.
So, let it go, and then say, okay. Because you have to say, okay, this is the way I feel right now. But in the scheme of things, what's important?
I ended up laughing about it later because I'm like, you know what?
We're laughing about it now.
I complained about the dog
because I stepped in some dog shit. It's a long
probably
story.
Sick of it and probably was a little petty about what she did in the front. So she probably knew I was going to walk through the grass. I'm like, she got me. She got me. I'll give her that.
Okay.
You got me.
Play. So I spent like the first 15 years.
Yeah, okay.
Like at least the first 15 years of my life, I was angry. Just angry all the time. And it took somebody teaching me that anger is a secondary emotion for that to sink in with me.
Didn't Tina Turner sing a song? Oh, no. That was I get that mixed up sometimes.
Anger, I mean, we all have anger issues. And like you were saying, how are you dealing with things? I got a bunch of... But what I've learned to ask myself is, who's driving the bus right now? Is it James Child is scared? Is it the boy or is it the man? Who's driving the bus right now? Is it James Boy scared? This is why we're acting this way? Or is it the grown man just being hateful? So once I identify who's driving the bus, okay, you sit down. We'll deal with you later. You stop being scared. You're fine.
Keep your eyes on the road.
Yeah.
It's going to be fine. You can reach the pedals.
It is.
And it's hard, when you are, especially when you're black or when you're Hispanic or what have you, when you are growing up in an ethnic household, mental health is not something that's... How many times I was told, just go to church.
Pray about it.
Or pray about it. You'll be all right. We don't do that.
Look to the Lord.
Or the country song, Can You're Crazy.
I have to say there are, if church works for you, that's good.
Yeah, exactly.
But it is not necessarily the answer, and sometimes what is being told to you is not the accurate thing. The one thing that happened at HISD is that they rejected the idea of using chaplains instead of
French goodness. Chaplains. When that came up, I was like, you have got to be kidding me. Because... you have to find what works for you, and you may go to a therapist and it doesn't feel right, and they have little tricks to try to keep you coming back because they want the business. But you can say, no, I don't, this isn't what, you have to find a good match. Yes.
And so
finding the right therapist is kind of like dating. Yeah. You really have to get to know them and
True,
see.
and you don't...
And that's why the Montrose Counseling Center, which later became the Montrose Center, got created because they found that there were particular needs. And this is a story that I tell is in the early days of the Montrose Center, when it was just a few rooms and a conference room in a little tiny building off of Lovett Boulevard. It's not even there anymore. And they started it, and I went to, I was in my early 30s, but I was just coming out, public, I guess you'd say. And so I went to the Women's Network at the Montrose Counseling Center. Over the years, I served on the board of the Montrose Counseling Center. Then I worked there for a while, and then eventually it became the Montrose Center. And now I live in the senior housing that was built by the Montrose Center. Yeah. So I'm very proud because that is something our community did.
Yes, completely.
Yeah. And so it's just but the important thing was they realized that there were aspects of being queer.
Yes.
That were different than what many therapists dealt with. So therapists there are trained to deal with the issues surrounding those issues. And sometimes your queerness is not really that much of what is going on with you about as far as your mental health,
Right.
But it is an aspect of your life that has to be taken into consideration.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
And having somebody who specializes in that will help immensely, because people who don't and aren't part of the community and don't understand the community have, unfortunately, and not even on purpose, but been very hurtful
Right.
to our community members
Yes.
because they don't know.
And not only do they have the therapist there, they've trained
Yes.
Yeah.
many therapists.
Yes.
The people coming out of U of H, get an internship at the Montrose Center, and then you can take and if you happen to be queer and want to work in community, that is the kind of place.
Oh yeah, the Montrose, huge shout out to the Montrose Center. They do so many things now. One of my favorite programs that they have is Hatch.
Yes.
The Hatch program is just phenomenal. They have a prom every year that they do for Hatch. My friend Carl Hunt, you know Carl.
Oh, yes.
He used to raise money and DJ for him every year.
He's
And
in Paris right now.
yeah, he is in Paris right now, that bastard. But he genuinely
curious.
he is one of the most amazing community members that we have. Carl is just a lovely person. Lovely.
He's a cook. I mean, just
He does
amazing.
everything.
He DJs. He's an interpreter. He's funny.
He's just retired.
I know. He has he calls it Diva Lotus Blossom Charm School.
Mhm, Diva Lotus Blossom Charm
And
School.
then he has
Okay.
he has the space aliens that tend
That steal
to
his stuff.
steal things
Yes.
from him.
Yep, when he misplaces
he
things, he
calls them
blames it
the
on the space.
shenanigans. The space.
I'm gonna use that.
Shenaniganza.
Yeah. I love Carl.
Yeah.
Shenanigans.
Carl's
And
fabulous.
he thinks he's moving to Vietnam.
That's what he
And
says.
I'm not happy about it.
Well, you know what? I don't blame him though, because right now Vietnam has more gay rights than we do.
Isn't that absurd?
I think that's wonderful, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. Great.
Well,
It's an Asian country, for God's sakes. And in a lot
Yeah.
of Asian countries, that's just not a thing.
Yeah.
Not right now. It's slowly, Japan
getting
is
there.
slowly starting to acknowledge
Yes.
that we exist.
Yep.
Whether Taiwan is doing the same thing.
Yep.
We're not to marriage yet. It's going to take time.
Yep.
It's going to take time, but there is acknowledgement there.
Yeah.
So there is progress. But speaking of shenanigans,
This is
okay,
the little gay shenanigans show.
our producer has said we have gone over.
Oh.
I knew that we had.
We're not like way over.
We are like way over.
Wow.
Because it was so good.
Which, by the way, I knew even before I stepped in here when I was setting up everything. I'm like, if we're gonna do generation episodes, I can guarantee you they're gonna go over.
Yeah.
I can guarantee that once the conversation starts, because Wendy and I try to keep it at a tight hour.
Because we're old and we got nothing better to do than to talk about the good old days.
And
But we went down memory lane.
I'm gonna
You know how that happens.
I think it's wonderful that Gen X and Boomers are sitting in the room, because it's like, and no insult to anyone at this table, but it's like sitting across from my parents.
Yeah.
And being able to say, you know what I miss, and I'm not the parent thing, but you know what I miss. What I would love for millennials and Gen Z to have that I had growing. I didn't have Hatch, and I'm so glad that they have organizations and things for younger people to deal with. But I miss the community. I miss the bookstores. I miss, and when I say bookstores, I don't mean. Well, I mean,
Let's put it out there.
Oh, you boys.
But when I mean bookstores, I miss the little coffee houses. I miss the things that when. Yes, I do miss the bookstores. But stories are amazing. But still, the stories that my generation has are amazing. But I miss the coffee houses. I miss the places that we used to congregate. When I was before, I feel like that Gen Z and millennials spend so much time on the internet that they don't know how to socialize with each other. They know how, They can go to a bar, but what happens when you go to the bar? Everybody's on their phone.
Well,
See,
that was
and
one of the reasons
Is
why
that
the bars
true?
are dying.
I haven't
Yes,
been to a bar
because
in a long time.
to hear what you're saying, I call it hunting for your food.
yeah, exactly.
Back in the day, you had to work. You had to buy them a drink. Now you order it online, top,
exactly.
bottom. This is what send you
Like
pictures.
ordering a pizza.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's
You
like
know,
ordering-
there's no work in it no more. I miss the cruise, and you ain't gonna get nothing. Yes, you are. And, you know,
But yet, I listen to gay men constantly complain on TikTok, Facebook, and all of Instagram, all the rest. Oh, gay men ain't shit. They ain't this and that. Blah blah blah. Y'all ain't shit because y'all don't talk to each other.
no,
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
don't
but
know
you
how to
know
socialize.
what?
Y'all don't know how to socialize.
You know what? One of the best places to find other people that you're going to have something in common with, that you enjoy being with, are when you get involved with an organization.
Thank you.
It might be
Amen.
the caucus.
Yeah, I agree.
It may be Food Not Bombs. It may be
Chamber of Commerce. We have a GLBT Chamber of Commerce.
LGBT Pride, by
Yes.
goodness gracious, Pride
Houston.
365.
Yep.
Volunteer.
Yep.
And you will make connections. You will make friends for life.
For
The
life.
best friends that I have to this day, except for some of my newer friends who I just adore. I mean, Wendy, I think you and I somehow have some kind of cosmic connection.
I think so, too.
But the
She's just out there.
But Wendy's a goddess. She has a cosmic connection.
She's just out there, honey.
Cosmic
she
connection
is.
with
You're
everybody.
gonna
Yes.
gravitate towards sooner or later.
Figure out how to turn that connection off. Y'all are wearing me out.
Honestly, I feel like Wendy is the one who put me on the road to getting my mental health together.
Good.
I mean, because having someone being encouraging.
Yes.
Whereas
When it
there
comes
were
to-
all those
yeah.
thousands of people whose mental health.
And she does it every day. I was having
Yeah.
a mini meltdown the other day because Pluto had moved and my whole cycle was off, you know. And I'm like,
I have no idea what you're
cosmic
talking
circle.
about.
My cosmic karma was off, and Wendy's
Your
like,
Mercury was in
right,
retrograde.
planet was, Pluto was on the moon. My world is falling apart. And Wendy's like, James, remember who you are. You've done this, and oh yeah, that's right.
Well, so the best friends that I've had are people that I know from the women's group that met at the Fish Unitarian Church for over 40-something years that I was a part of, and the National Organization for Women.
Yes.
And like I said, I mean, these people I've known them 40 years, and they're my people.
I have two wonderful best friends that I've known for about 30 to 35 years. They piss me off so much.
That's a friend.
They piss. I'm currently not speaking to them right now, but you know what the thing is?
You got a block.
The thing is that
If we're
this is what we go through.
Yeah.
Yes, you
And-
can be friends. You
I
can
don't
have
see
disagreements,
young
but
gay
you're still going to be
people-
friends.
I don't see young gay people forming these kinds
No.
of bonds. You need these type of bonds. I have never been married. I've never been in a relationship due to my trauma. But I'm working on that. Am I looking for a husband right now? No. But if somebody came along, I feel like
You'd be like, I
I,
do.
I could be like, hey, I have a little bit of baggage, and the rest of it is
And
we're working on it.
but we also need to think in terms of we don't necessarily have to have a partner.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And I've been fine
Be
with
happy
being
within
being
yourself.
alone for quite some time, so it's
Yeah.
not a big issue for me. And hey, if you have a partner and that's what you do, that's great. But
Right.
one of the things that always got me was the fact that why
I
do you
want a
not
friend
marry?
with
Why do you not have
benefits.
a boyfriend. Why do you not have Joel? You're so nice. You're so this. Because emotionally, I was not ready to handle it. I couldn't handle it. And
Yeah.
if I had gotten into a relationship,
It would not have ended well.
But yeah, we just. I just
And
want
by
kids
the
to
way,
have
at
some
74 years old, yes, we still want intimacy and sex.
Thank you for saying something
Yeah.
about that, Deb.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't
Hey,
like.
I could tell you some stories about the residents at Law Harrington. Oh, talk about shenanigans.
Oh,
That's another
oh,
podcast.
I feel like y'all need your own reality TV show.
Right.
there.
But actually, the funny thing is, I read this months ago that boomers are actually having more sex than Gen Z.
Of course they are, because they're relaxed on their pensions.
They're
Hello.
also coming down with more, but they're also coming down with more STDs.
Well, they were
Because
having
they're not
a
using
whole.
condoms.
They were
because at
having
that
a
age,
whole.
they're like, I'm not getting pregnant.
Well,
so
right.
They were doing a whole thing in nursing homes because thank you, Viagra. Yeah, there's.
Oh, yeah.
See, I blame Viagra, and I'm older and I have more insurance. Yeah.
She's like Tawanda.
I watched that last
I
night.
have no more insurance. I love that movie.
Yeah.
I think one woman.
You didn't need to tell me because you know who wrote Fried Green Tomatoes, Fannie Flagg.
Yes.
And Fannie Flagg is a lesbian.
Oh, I did not know
you
that.
did not know that?
I didn't know
And
that.
Rita Mae Brown, the prominent lesbian author, said that Fannie Flagg was her love of her life.
Was Fannie Flagg a comedian?
Yes.
She's so funny.
And she had a bunch of other books that
Yes,
are just
I had. So we used to get her books on audio tape and listen to them when we'd go on road trips. So I've heard so many of her books, and she's so funny.
Well, we could get into another whole thing here
Oh my
because
God,
I
we could
was
do that
just
tomorrow.
thinking about people through the years talking about people on television that were gay and very loved, such as Jim Nabors, such as Raymond Burr, Perry Friggin Mason. You know, we have been here. Daniel Williams, who used to live in Houston, and
Lily Tomlin.
good grief, Lily, who is now unfortunately in Chicago. He's been doing a thing where he goes to a site in the city and says, this is the site of blah, 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 and what happened here with gay history. And then he'll end it by saying, and this is so-and-so in Chicago, and we have always been here. And I wish we could do something like that for Houston because that's the message. We have always been here. We're a part of the fabric of this country, an important fabric.
There was a hilarious TikTok video that I shared with half of my friends yesterday about there was a woman up there acting like the homophobic archaeologist, right? Here we have a tomb of 2 Viking maidens. They're holding hands. They must have been sisters. Sure, Jan.
Oh my God!
Sure, Jan.
Oh my God!
That's based on a true story.
I know, but and then what? Okay, on the tomb it says, "Service, you have my heart forever." But the man laid in the tomb is a man. They must have been very good friends.
Yeah.
Yes.
What the fuck? And then like, okay, so here we are in the pyramids, and we have the tomb of this person, and they're wearing all of these jewelry and clothing items that are women, but the skeleton is male. So what we think must have been happening was anything to erase us from history, anything to erase us from existence. We have always
and then
been
there
here.
was a time when they did.
Yes, they did.
And they would do it again.
Yes, they would.
When I worked on the March on Washington in '93, it was at the same time the Holocaust Museum opened in D.C. and we had a private showing, and I thought this could happen again, and it would be us.
It would be us.
It would be us,
It would be us.
and we have seen that happening, especially with the trans and drag community. So,
Do you know Judy Reeves?
very well.
Yeah. So I've stumbled across her. Actually, she bought me at a slave auction.
Oh, Judy.
What a thing to say.
Sorry. Cut.
With a black dude.
Sorry.
I do disapprove of those.
So we did a fundraiser, and it was
What did you do for Judy?
actually.
He's blushing. You can't see it on the podcast.
You never know what's going to happen.
Go on.
So
We know the context of this conversation, so please don't send me.
no.
Don't send me any hate, please.
So it was a community event. So there was at the Ripcord. I was with in LA. It was a fundraiser they do, and it's a boy auction / da da da. And so my partner and I, we got up on it, and we went for the highest bid, $350.
Nice.
And Judy Reeves bought us. So we're walking up to the table because she's sitting in the corner. We're like, okay, you just bought us. What are we doing?
We're going to this little silver-haired woman.
You know, and then she's like, I want you for a podcast. Yes, ma'am. So I met her there, and then it's when I learned about GCAM. And I tell you what, I have visited. It's a shame because it's now a pop-up museum that only goes here and there. But that's one thing I try to also.
If I win the lottery, there will become a physical building that we can
I'm
house.
behind her 100%.
Yeah, but there are some wonderful archives at U of H and elsewhere. So our history is being staged
Good.
and respected.
Yeah.
So it doesn't get erased and everything.
Judy was the longtime producer and radio personality at KPFT for After Hours, and then it became Facets, and recently she retired from doing that. Which means there's an opening for a queer show on KPFT, other than Queer Voices.
Oh. Well, I think on that note, I would like to thank you guys so much for coming on the show, y'all.
You guys.
Oh, yeah, I know. You're right. You don't like guys. It's y'all.
People.
Thanks, y'all.
Folks.
Thanks, y'all, for coming on the show. Deborah, I love you so much. And James, you have my heart. And Joel, it's good to see you again.
So good.
Joel.
Girl.
And thank you.
Well, thank you for having me, Wendy.
But
Putting up with this.
we on our next episode, we're gonna do Gen X. So
We
it's
are
be
gonna
a
have Gen X.
Table full of Gen X.
I'm excited. Keisha Hunt, comedian. She's phenomenal. And then
Kendra
we've
Walker.
Kendra Walker and Silver Steel.
Oh,
Got Silver, who is Houston's biggest porn star here, and he is genuinely just a sweetheart. And of course, Kendra Walker, who was my president when I was on the Pride Board, who is an entrepreneur, phenomenal, smart lady, just smart. So we've got a great cast for the Gen X episode. I was so bummed that Mike couldn't come today. I love Mike, so please give him my love.
So we're having an episode with the head of Pride Committee, and
a porn star and a comedian.
You know what? I just want to be sitting over there.
It's going to be a good show.
A rabbi.
It's going to be a good show. But Keisha Hunt's got a great following.
I don't know about Keisha.
You don't know about
we should
Keisha?
have her on
You
Queer
need to talk to
Voices.
Keisha. She's got great circles. She's plugged in with folks like Kevin Hart, Tiffany Haddish, that kind of stuff. So I'm really excited she's going to be on the show. She's funny.
There is a young man named Josh Johnson who I've been seeing on Facebook. I subscribe to his thing. Young black male.
Funny.
Funny.
Yeah.
So funny. Not queer, but so funny.
Yeah.
You can never have too many pictures.
No, you can't.
If you've seen my Facebook, you'll know.
Doing the photos.
Yeah, so y'all make sure you tune in next week. We are going to have an amazing show with Gen X. After Gen X, we are going to have Gen Z. Oh, no, sorry. We're going to have millennials and then Gen Z. But the cool thing, the one I'm really looking forward to, is we're going to have one person back from each of the shows and have a roundtable conversation.
Ooh, the lightning
Between all
round.
of them. Yes. So I'm really looking forward to that roundtable discussion between the ages.
I think all of these are discussions that could go on for years.
20 years at least. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So can we end it now?
Yeah, bye.
I'm tired. I need a nap.
People gotta go
We're gonna
home.
tape.
Bye.